knew basic hand washing could actually save lives? Now don't worry, this isn't another coronavirus vlog. I know there's really a lot of vlogs out there that talk about the coronavirus, and this is an entirely different vlog which we'll get into in about a minute or two. So hold your horses. So I'm pretty sure a lot of you are already very familiar with the coronavirus, so that's not something I'm going to get into right now, so don't worry. What I'm going to be getting into right now is a topic that's a little bit less interesting than the coronavirus. It's actually a topic that a few of my female friends have been asking me to talk about on my vlog. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. What's going on, everybody? My name is Neil Fernando, and today we'll be talking about relationships. Specifically, no-label relationships. No-label relationships are becoming sort of a trend right now because of the convenience it offers. It's not necessarily a convenience for both parties, but it is somewhat convenient nonetheless. So what are no-label relationships? No-label relationships are primarily friendships that evolve into the next level of a relationship, which is that of romantic. While this may start to pick up some traction right now in the world of relationships, there are quite a few people who do see the benefits, as well as those who have apprehensions about no-label relationships, which is really quite understandable because once we get into it, you'll see the pros and cons of that kind of no-label the pros and cons that a no-label relationship can offer. Now, don't worry, this isn't going to be a video about me trying to convince you all why a no-label relationship works, or it's not even a comparison video between a no-label relationship versus that of a labeled and committed one. I don't like to say that no-label relationships don't really have much commitment, because personally for me, and I've been through a no-label relationship, there is that commitment, but it's really just looking at relationships through a different perspective. So in this video, I'll be talking about two things. Make that three things. First, we'll be talking about the pros of a no-label relationship. Second, we'll be talking about the cons or the downsides of a no-label relationship. And lastly, we'll talk about what we can all take away from all of this. So let's get right into it. So now let's take a look at the pros of a no-label relationship and what it can offer in terms of perspectives that we should be looking at when it comes to relationships. Number one, there are no rules, no restrictions. So basically, the good thing about a no-label relationship is that you're not bound to abide by certain rules or regulations when it comes to being in that relationship or having to deal with your partner. In a sense, anything goes. Number two, freedom. In a no-label relationship, you're essentially free to do whatever it is you want without having to worry about how your partner's going to think. Number three, no expectations. Remember how things were when you guys used to be just friends and there weren't really a lot of expectations from one another? That's the good thing about a no-label relationship. You can continue on to have that sense of no expectations despite being in a relationship where you're trying to be committed to one another. And that's a good thing, because with less expectations come less disappointments. You just have to understand that the no expectations applies to the both of you. It's not a one-way street. So you have to learn to not expect anything from him, as well as he should learn to not expect anything from you. Another pro of a no-label relationship is that you have less chances of getting hurt. Apparently, when somebody is in a no-label relationship, they're less invested in that specific relationship from the start. I don't know if as things progress, but from the beginning, you are more likely to less invest in, basically take the relationship with a grain of salt and look at it from a somewhat objective standpoint and see where it's going. Hence, you have less chances of getting hurt. There's also that element of surprise. Basically, because you're not expecting anything from your partner, and they're not expecting anything from you. When you try to do something good, your partner will be really surprised, or when your partner does something good for you, you end up being surprised as well. And the good thing about that, it keeps the relationship fresh for as long as possible because of that. Something I've noticed when it comes to no-label relationships is that a lot of people actually try to do their best, because there's always that sense, or there's always that reality of losing your partner just as quickly. So in an effort to maintain the relationship for as long as you guys can, it seems to me that both parties tend to put in their best foot forward, or basically they try to do the best they can for the time being. So these are the things, or these are the pros that to a no-label relationship. Whether it will last or not, I can't really say for sure, but primarily these are the pros, or these are the things that one can benefit from when in a no-label relationship. So now, let's move on to the cons. So, just like how the law of nature commands or requires balance in the world, no-label relationships are also ruled by the law of yin and yang, or the law of balance. Just like there are pros to any relationship, there are also cons to a no-label relationship. So one of the cons of having a no-label relationship is that we're not going to be able to have the right to demand or control our partners and demand for them to act in a certain way. Just like there are no rules or restrictions when it comes to us, the cons is that those same rules apply to us, but in the reverse, if you get what I mean. So we have to learn to respect that and play the game by those unwritten rules of having no rules when it comes to that specific relationship. Number 2, because we have to abide by the no rules, no restriction rules of the no-label relationship. I don't know if I'm still making sense, but just bear with me. We also have to learn how to control our own feelings and emotions. Like, for example, if there's something that our partner does that we're not particularly fond of, we have to control, or we have to learn to communicate with them in a way that we don't really display much anger or jealousy. Otherwise, we end up fighting and everything gets blown all out of proportion. Aww. The downside to any no-label relationship is that just about anybody, can end the relationship just like that. No questions asked. Because if you think about it, you really don't have a label to begin with. So if somebody just wants out, all they have to do is say, you know what? I don't feel like continuing on with this relationship, so I think I'm just going to bail. And because anybody can just end the relationship just like that. Another downside of a no-label relationship is that relationships can be very short-lived. Some can go for as short as a couple of days, a couple of weeks, to maybe just a few months. Because
like I said, there's really nothing that's holding you back because you're not as invested in the relationship as you would be if you guys were an official item. Those that show their true feelings when it comes to no label relationships usually end up the losers. Not because their partners can use that against them or to blackmail that against them, but it's really more because of the emotional investment that you will put into the relationship. And if you get too attached with your partner and if they don't necessarily feel the same way or share the same sentiment, it can cause a little bit of friction between the both of you. And last but not least, another downside to a no label relationship is the tendency for one of you guys to become complacent. Complacency is very much a temptation when it comes to no label relationships because of the fact that there's no pressure, there are no rules, no restrictions, nothing to abide by. So sometimes people or partners, they get kind of complacent with one another. And sometimes this complacency can lead to either frictions or cause conflicts or arguments that will eventually blow up all out of proportion and end the relationship. So these are the cons that could happen when it comes to a no-label relationship.
I asked my good friend Phoebe, who's in a no-label relationship right now with someone, what she thinks of her relationship right now. This is what she has to say. Relationships that are casual or have no strings attached are like commitments too. Considering to commit, but we don't really mind each other's business as long as both of us have a deal. However, of course, caring and respect has no absence. It's like when you're watching a movie where it goes like, hey, where are you? I need you. Or hey, let's chill. Hey, be with me now. Hey, I want you now. So it's basically like being best friends, but without the labels, because you don't want to hurt each other's feelings, and you don't want to mind each other's, or you don't want to get into each other's businesses. So that's basically what she said. So what can we take away from all of this? Well, from what I've seen through my research, I can't really say it's much of a research because it's pretty much me just asking a few of my female friends, what they think about no label relationships, and I'm putting in some observations of my own. No label relationships or committed relationships are practically the same thing. Really, you are in a relationship, whether it's a committed one or not. You're bound by certain rules that need not be written. For one thing, respect should always be there, regardless if you are in a relationship that's committed or that's labeled or unlabeled. 2, common courtesy should always be expressed, regardless of the status of your relationship. These are the basic things that will make for a more harmonious relationship, whether it's labeled or unlabeled. In any relationship, communication is key and comprehension is a keyhole. One will not work without the other. People can communicate all they like, but if your partner or the person that you're talking to or communicating to doesn't have the ability to comprehend, be mature, and keep an open mind about what you're saying, then basically that's the end of the relationship. Because what holds a relationship together are basically these things: effective communication, maturity, respect, and common courtesy. So let me leave you with this food for thought. Never make a promise when you're happy. Never make a decision when you're sad. Never react when you're scared. And never ever reply when you're angry. Never ever let life-changing decisions be dictated by a fleeting set of emotions. Because at the end of the day, your emotions will have long gone and you'll be left with the consequences of your actions. So if you liked the video, please do give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, smash that notification bell so I can keep you updated on future videos about psychology, how the human mind works, relationships, and everything in between. Thank you.